Well, it's Carl Krebs. I'm live here for Things That Matter, and we have a fortuitous opportunity here to speak with Ron Schmidt from the United Party of Canada. And Ron's in town from Alberta. And I want to ask you, Ron, you were there at the beginning when Grant Abrams started this party. So take us back to the beginning of the United Party of Canada.
It started, well, in my journey, I went to Ottawa during the trucker convoy. And when I came back from the convoy, going back to Alberta, we were running around and still meeting communities and leaders and trying to build communities to rebuild kind of in response to all the mandates that were going on, to provide health and services and, just bring truth to what was going on across the country.
So when you looked at the political landscape at that time, of course we've got the three main parties in Canada, which we all know of. There didn't seem to be a solution there, did there?
No, because they didn't stand up. They were silent to a lot of stuff that was going on, to almost everything. And they were not in support of what was happening in Ottawa with I guess, the movement that was rising up. And I believe they were afraid and they had to come up with a response. But what happened was, while I was in Alberta, meeting all kinds of groups and people there, I get a call from Grant Abraham, and he was looking to run for the leadership race of the Conservative Party.
Okay. So at this junction, can you just give a brief synoptic thumbnail of who Grant Abraham is?
Grant Abraham saw the erosion of our rights and freedoms across the country. He recognized that there was an undermining, a purpose undermining of our country by our government. So he tried to find out what was going on. And so he thought, you know what, I'm going to get involved in the political arena to try and make a difference. So he decided to run for the Conservative leadership race during the time that, Pierre Poilievre and Leslyn Lewis and, a bunch of people were coming together. And then, so I met him and I thought, he's not a politician. He's actually standing up for we the people. So
reminds me of another politician, but we won't go there for now.
No, we won't go there for now. So I helped him in his journey in becoming a candidate for the leadership race, and he actually got everything he needed in a very, very short period of time. He was unvaccinated. He wasn't able to leave the region of Alberta because he was unvaxxed. And so in a very short period of time, basically in the last 10 days, he pretty much got almost everything he needed, which scared the Conservative Party. And so he got the $300,000. He got all the signatures. And then he submitted it all. And then they said, you don't have enough money. So he had a forensic accountant find the money and force them to admit that they had the money, but they lied. They hid the money. And then they also told him he had the signatures. So on one hand, a week before they said you had the signatures, now all of a sudden you don't have the signatures. So there was some underhandedness to allow him not to enter the race. So they lied.
I have to say, on the provincial scene, we saw this play out in the Conservative Party in Manitoba. And again, I don't want to get into that one because a lot of people knew about missing ballots, 9,000 of which would have swung the leadership of the provincial Conservative Party in someone else's favor. But there seems to be an attempt that the party, at least the Conservative Party, maybe other parties, are the gatekeepers of who should pass and who should not. So Grant Abrams had to fight his way in to the Conservative Party, which he ended up losing. But now he's starting a new party, the United Party of Canada.
Well, he didn't lose. He was not allowed to enter the race.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, he was disallowed to actually contend for it.
He was disallowed. He had everything he needed. So then he knew that wasn't the way to go. So we tried to find partnerships with other people. Derek Sloan, the PPC, Maxime Bernier, Christian Heritage Party.
There was a coming together of a meeting many months ago.
That's right.
But it was good intention, but nothing that came together in the way of a
was
unified party.
The value framework of all the other parties, not that, the Christian Heritage Party, but we tried to build a party that was a response where we would be able to go in the public square and speak to those things that no one else is talking about. The value framework that's missing in our country. Like the Conservative Party, they brought in Bill C-4.
Explain to our viewers the essence of Bill C-4, because some still don't know.
Bill C-4 is a bill that was passed, I believe it was in 2020 during the COVID pandemic. And it will criminalize anyone who is counseling, praying for, or talking with either your child or grandchild about transition, like the transitioning into whatever gender. And if you interfere with that, you can go to prison for 5 years.
We both lived in this country long enough, and everybody loves this country. Can you imagine a piece of legislation that is so divisive as Bill C-4, which pits parents against kids and kids against parents? It seems almost surreal, doesn't it?
And it's almost like this sexualization of children, like normalizing pedophilia. And then also with being pro-life, it's we found that with the even with the PPC, they say they're pro-family, but they're not pro-life. They're part of it. They're libertarian, which is part of being humanistic, which is they deny the existing of the source of light. So how can you partner with and partner with light when you deny the existence of light?
Yeah, well, for those of us that believe the Bible and follow the teachings of Jesus, there's no association between light and dark. There can't be. Is it safe to say, is it fair to say that the conservative people of Canada, the conservative voter, doesn't have a true conservative voice out there? And is that the reason why the United Party of Canada was formed?
We formed it because the Conservatives are not speaking on certain things. The value frameworks that actually made our country, they're not talking about. I'll give you an example. When we were in the Durham by-election, Aaron O'Toole's old riding, Grant ran in it, and he was able to say, I am the only pro-life party that was running there on the ballot. So Grant was able to get on the ballot, and so he was the only pro-life party, period. Mm-hmm. So we ran on that we value life, all life, and parental authority, and we want to have the discussion back into the public square on these value framework that actually made our nation. That's the bedrock values of our country. And
okay, so then, are conservative voters disenfranchised? Are they upset? Are they in any way sort of concerned that we really don't have that so-called conservative party? I overheard, or was actually part of the conversation when someone said, "This, in the conservative party, the only problem is you can't find a conservative in the party." That's so many of them. People that we know hold to conservative values refuse to speak out because of the control of the party in what they can and can't say publicly.
Well, it's with the party, there's a control mechanism in the party. So I believe that there's good people in the party. It's not like everyone in the party, it doesn't have those value framework. But if you speak up, if you say anything, then you're reprimanded or your voice is silenced. And so it's a control mechanism of the party itself. And so you can't, your vote is your opinion. And either we have to draw a line in the sand on the value framework. Either we choose life, in scripture says choose life or death. Like, we can't waver between the two opinions now. I mean, the Conservative Party, I grew up conservative, my parents. The Conservative Party today is very different than what it was, 20, 30 years ago. And now it's like, I cannot hold to the value framework of the Conservative Party. I can't.
So when you talk about the controlling mechanism in the party, and in this case we're talking about the Conservative Party of Canada, does Grant Abram in the United Party advocate for a free and open vote on all matters that his party would participate on? Would those all be open votes? Because we hear when legislation is up that it will be an open vote, or whether or not it will be the party voting as one.
Well, you have to build a structure where the power goes back in the hands of the people. There's so many things to be addressed. The Constitution. There's so many things that put it this way: the Prime Minister appoints the Governor General, and the Governor General can't call out the government because he's appointed by
the governing party.
The governing party. So I mean, who's there to challenge what is wrong? And if the Conservatives aren't, and the Liberals and the NDP aren't, then who's going to stand up? And this is more than just about Liberal and NDP and Conservative. This is dark versus light. This is good versus evil, which we're seeing, like all the policies, the mandates, all the things that the government is doing. There's so many topics to talk about, but people are waking up to the fact that there's a value framework, there's something wrong in our country, and the people can't be silent anymore. And if the Conservative Party isn't speaking out and allowing to speak for the people, then Grant Abraham and the United Party of Canada, they are wanting to engage this in the public square and have real discussions in this country.
So how do you navigate through the argument that this is going to split the Conservative vote again? The PPC has been long accused of doing that. How do you confront that argument as the United Party of Canada about splitting the Conservative vote?
Well, in essence, it is splitting the vote. It's either you choose the value framework, you choose life, you choose to speak on the real issues of Canada, or you don't. We have to choose. We can't just have muscle memory that we've had before. Grant always talks about, the people have Stockholm syndrome. It's like during election time or election period, they offer a bunch of things, and then they just go right back to the way things were before.
Well, and in the United States, we're going to go there in a minute because I know you have some affiliation with our friends to the south of us. They have a process of recall. We've never had that in Canada. We see what we see. People getting elected and then just doing their own thing until 4 years later, they come knocking at our doors and wanting our vote again. How does the United Party stand on an issue of recall? That an elected MP would be subject to answering to his constituents for what he does. And if they are so upset, they can issue a process of recall. Is that within the framework of the United Party?
Well, in the U.S., as soon as you get your position, you spend all your time trying to retain it and make money, and you're working with lobbyists, and you're trying to just retain your position. But with us, you have to work for the people. You're a servant of the people.
So this is about transparency and accountability to the people, that you're going to be in those ridings, not just lobbying and staying in Ottawa and hiding from your constituents.
You work for the people. You listen to the people. And if you're held in account, and if you don't do the things that you say you're going to do, there's an accountability there, and you could be removed by the people. So this is not about big government. This is not about the control mechanism. This is about devolution. This is about shrinking the size of the government and putting the power back into the communities, into the province's hands, and it's we the people. So big government is always trying to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just doesn't work. Look at how it's working for everybody, and all the communities have the ability to provide food and resources and energy and health and this is what made Canada great. Mm-hmm. This is what happened in the States.
All right. So speaking of them, we're sitting here at November 2nd.
Yeah.
We're 3 days away from what I think is going to be a historic moment in the United States. Give us your opinion as a person of the United Party, as Ron Schmidt, the individual, the true conservative, as to what you are thinking is going to happen in the United States November 5th. What are we bracing for? Whether the Democrats win or the Republicans win, what are you bracing for? What do you think is going to happen? How vulnerable is this system that we've been operating under?
Well, I think people are going to find out truth with what's really going on. And I think that there's an exposure of what's really going on behind the scenes. I believe that there was election fraud.
Back in 2020.
2020. And that's proven.
We're already seeing reports of that now.
It's coming out more and more. It's in the courts. It's the mainstream media or the legacy media has not been reporting on a lot of stuff, a lot of truth, in the States and in Canada, around the world. But I believe that narrative is being exposed about our health, what happened during the COVID response with the vaccines and all the injuries, with the judicial system, with big business, the music industry. Look at P. Diddy. You look at Hollywood, and the whole Epstein Island and Jeffrey Epstein. But these are getting into kind of what people would call conspiracy. But the truth is coming out on a lot of subjects, and so I believe that people are going to find out what the Democrat Party is all about and what Trump and his administration is doing. But I believe that there's going to be people upset. One way or another, people are going to be upset and there's going to be a response. So I believe that you're either looking at a revolution or possibly even as bad as a civil war, because Trump has already promised that he's going to bring justice. He's going to bring exposure. He has executive orders 13818. Anyone who's being caught with, trafficking, with treason, with so many other things, which I believe personally that this is going to be exposed. And he calls it draining the swamp. But with it, there's going to be a reaction. So I call it a storm. But so anything can happen.
So there's an old saying in Canadian politics: when America sneezes, Canada gets a cold. Mm-hmm. We know the fallout and the repercussions, the consequences of November 5th going into November 6th, and however long it takes to declare a winner, are going to be something that Canada's going to feel. So bring it back home now. What do you think is going to be the reaction in Canada to what's happening in the States? As a person of the United Party and as a citizen of this country, what do you think is the spill out to Canada?
Well, I believe that there's going to be exposure of truth with how things play out over the next number of days or weeks or months. And with it, that same exposure will hit Canada in terms of, because the same system of control, the same system of what I call treason and crimes against humanity with, with health authority, climate change. There's so many subjects you can talk about, but I believe the truth is going to be coming out on so many fronts, and there's going to be a response from the people. So the people are going to be looking for truth. They're going to be looking for those that had the courage to call things out and to stand with the people and to have a solution. And I know if you go on our website,
What is that website so our listeners
It's unitedpartyofcanada.ca. And we actually have on the website, it's called the Emergency Community Response Network, ECRN, where we're encouraging people to build communities in a national crisis or national emergency for the people to work together. Start building communities, start working together to be whatever response, whether it's bad weather, power outage, lack of food, whatever it is, whatever national emergency we run into, that the communities come together and be the response in a crisis situation that I believe Canada's going to be facing.
And, you know, coming out of the pandemic, or the pandemic, as you want to choose to call it what you want, we've seen communities divided. We've seen the isolation of individuals. We watched people die in isolation and loneliness. We really do need to rebuild the fabric of community in this country. And you're saying the United Party is interested to weave together a stronger community of Canadians working together in their different areas.
Well, in a national emergency, look at what happened just down in North Carolina. They had a disaster in the area, and you had FEMA there, and from what we heard, and we had firsthand reports, and it was on social media, they were hindering the community response to help their fellow citizens.
Shocking when that was revealed.
It was shocking, and people are waking up to the fact that your government and your government system is not there to help you. It was like my opinion is they create a crisis and then they have the solution, but the solution isn't for the people. I believe it's for more of a control mechanism. And so we need to be the response here, which we feel that there will be a situation that may arise, which we feel there's a possibility, but that we already are the solution to a crisis. Start working with communities. And Canadians are known around the world to be responders, and that we work together, we serve, we have a heart for each other, and in a crisis situation, we're there for each other. Instead of trusting the government to take care of all our problems and all our solutions, what if they're not there? We have to believe that we have all the ability we need to be the response in whatever emergency that we have facing Canada, which I believe is coming.
You know what you're saying harkens back to the days of Ronald Reagan when he said the government isn't the solution, it's often the problem. So just as we wrap this up, Ron, speak to the listeners about, on behalf of perhaps Grant Abrams, to say what you're offering in this party. Just bring it home in that way. What would Grant say if he was here, perhaps, if you can do that?
Well, what we're looking for is communities to come together. And if you have someone in your region or your area or your EDA district, give us a call. Go on the website. We're looking for people to stand up and to be the voice. We do have a federal party. We have the same rights as the Liberals or NDP or Conservatives. And give us a call.
So you're actually in town here. This is a meeting of people of the party, and you're actually looking for people who might want to step up.
That's right.
And become and put their name a candidate for the United Party.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
We have a number of people here. We just had a little meeting here. It was good to see you because
it was great. Fortuitous moment. I had to grab you for an interview.
It's like here we are in the same place. But we have so many people across the country that are looking to say, we adhere to your value framework. We can't be silent anymore. I can't sit on the couch anymore. I need to speak up. I need to be that voice of truth and to stand up and what I call confront darkness. We can't be silent anymore as Canadians.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for people that have the courage, that want to stand up and have that voice, because we have that voice right across the whole country. and we believe that there's going to be a shift. I believe that this is my opinion, that there's going to be an exposure of truth on many levels, and I believe that people aren't going to be lining up with the existing power structure that's in Ottawa, and then people are going to go, now where do we go? Now what do we do? Who was calling out truth? Who had the courage to call things the way they are and bring leadership back into the value framework that made this country great?
Well, you know what? I think we can all agree. We need truth. We crave truth like we crave oxygen. Mm-hmm. And the more truth is going to expose what needs to be exposed, because unless it's revealed, it can't be healed. Thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate it.